You might spend your entire weekend just agonizing over the perfect font for your resume.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there.
Right. Meticulously tailoring your keywords for some online job portal, hitting submit on a dozen applications, and, well, statistically, you are completely wasting your time.
Yeah. It's brutal to hear, but it is entirely true.
Because, up to 80% of roles are being filled through a hidden job market that you cannot even see on LinkedIn or Indeed.
Right, because the rules of the job market have just completely fractured. Yeah. We are operating in this really talent-saturated environment.
Yep.
And following that old blueprint, polishing a resume and just waiting in line, it basically guarantees you will be overlooked. The mechanics of how we search, how we navigate our current roles, and even how we build leverage, they've all just fundamentally changed.
Which is really the core mission of our deep dive today. So welcome, if you're listening. We are unpacking the March 2026 edition of the Your Career, Your Future newsletter.
A really fantastic issue, by the way.
Oh, it's packed. And this is published by the Career Experts Group, or CE. And if you don't know them, they are an absolute powerhouse joint venture of master career professionals and personal branding strategists.
They really handle everything.
Everything. From corporate outplacement to these incredibly detailed resource guides. And their central theme this month is owning your value, advocacy, advancement, and visibility.
It's such a timely theme.
Right. And for you listening, we are treating this as your strategic playbook. We are bypassing all that generic advice to look at the actual mechanisms of how careers are advancing right now.
And I think we have to start with that hidden job market you just mentioned.
Let's do it.
Because the immediate challenge for most people is simply finding that next role, right? And the newsletter features a really vital insight on this from career expert Jean Stoner.
Yeah, she breaks down the power circle.
Exactly. Beyond that 80% hidden market statistic, she points out something wild. 60% of networked opportunities come specifically from former colleagues.
Wow, 60%.
Yeah. So the vast majority of the real action is happening entirely off the radar of public job boards.
Okay, let's unpack this because, networking is a loaded word.
Oh, totally. People hate it.
They really do. Most of us treat networking like throwing a handful of darts blindfolded in a crowded bar.
Just hoping you hit a target without injuring anyone, right?
Exactly. It feels so transactional. But Jean Stoner suggests a power circle is completely different. It is like assembling a personal board of directors.
I love that analogy.
Right. It's an intentionally identified inner circle of trusted relationships.
And the psychology behind why this works is just crucial. When you suddenly find yourself looking for a job, your first instinct is usually to isolate.
Oh, for sure. You feel vulnerable.
Right. You feel vulnerable, so you aggressively apply online, where you can just hide behind a screen.
Yeah.
Reaching out to personal contacts feels like begging for a favor.
It feels awful.
It does. But Stoner outlines an activation strategy that removes that dynamic entirely. It starts with just documenting existing relationships, past coworkers, confidants, and those natural connectors in your life, and clarifying your exact direction before you ever reach out.
Yeah, because you have to give them a target list. You can't just call a former colleague and be like, hey, I need a job.
Exactly.
That puts an impossible burden on them.
It's exactly the opposite of what you should do. You use what she calls the AI model, AIR.
Okay, break that down for us.
So it stands for advice, information, referrals. You craft a really concise outreach message asking for advice on your target companies, or maybe information about other organizations that might be a cultural fit.
MBR.
You only ask for referrals when it makes logical sense in the conversation.
Okay, wait, let me challenge that for a second. Asking for advice and information instead of a job, doesn't the person on the other end know exactly what you're doing? If a former colleague reaches out to me asking for advice on target companies, I know they're looking for a job. Doesn't the AR model feel a bit, passive-aggressive or like a bait and switch?
I get why you'd say that, but it would only be a bait and switch if you secretly expected them to hand you a job offer at the end of the coffee chat.
Right, okay.
But the AR model works because it actually respects their boundaries. It lowers the stakes. You are giving them an easy out. They might not have the power to hire you, but everybody has advice.
That makes sense. People love giving advice.
They really do. What's fascinating here is that the hesitation you feel is almost entirely a mindset block. We confuse asking for perspective with imposing on someone.
Oh, that's a great point.
Building a power circle shifts the dynamic to mutual value.
Yeah.
You are giving a trusted colleague the opportunity to advocate for someone they already believe in, which actually feels good for them.
Yeah, that reframes the entire interaction. But let's be realistic here. You cannot network your way into every single role.
No, of course not.
At some point, you are going to exhaust your warm leads, and you have to face the digital job market. But throwing a resume onto a mega board right now is basically screaming into a void. So what is the mathematical alternative to that?
The alternative is moving from relationship-based searching to highly targeted external searching. Elise Pipitone addresses this in the newsletter.
Yeah, her piece was eye-opening.
She argues for completely ditching megaboards like Indeed in favor of niche job sites. When you submit to a general board, your application is immediately subjected to algorithmic filtering. And those algorithms are designed to eliminate candidates, not find them.
You are basically competing with thousands of applicants across entirely unrelated industries.
Exactly.
And the newsletter gets very specific about where to go instead. They mention the job search database, which is this robust directory for specialized fields, and JobStars USA, which points you toward professional association job boards.
The examples they provide are incredibly granular.
They really are. Like, they mention the National Funeral Directors Association, or the Association of Maternal and Child Health Programs.
It's hyper-specific.
And for the executive or C-suite level, they point directly to specialized executive search firms. NRG Consulting for mission-driven organizations, Sloan Partners for life sciences.
Carney Sando for independent schools.
Yes, and JMJ Phillip for technology and manufacturing.
And the mechanism behind why these specific firms and boards work is human vetting.
Right.
A recruiter at a life sciences search firm knows exactly what a complex bioassay is. When they look at your resume, they understand the nuance of your experience.
They aren't just matching keywords.
No, they are acting as a translator between your highly specific skills and the hiring manager's actual needs.
I hear that, but let me play devil's advocate for a minute. By hyper-focusing on these incredibly specific niche boards, don't you risk developing severe tunnel vision?
How do you mean?
Well, what if you miss out on a serendipitous, amazing opportunity in an adjacent industry simply because you were only refreshing the manufacturing board every morning?
That's a fair concern. You do trade away some serendipity, but you have to look at the math of a saturated market.
Okay, lay out the map.
When you cast a massive net on a general board, the noise completely drowns out your signal. Targeted alignment drastically reduces your competition.
So it's about the signal-to-noise ratio.
Exactly. By focusing your energy where your specific expertise is explicitly valued, you are saving yourself from the resume black hole. A highly probable interview in your specific niche is mathematically more valuable than the illusion of endless options on a megaboard.
Right. Quality over volume. You are hunting with a scalpel instead of a shotgun.
Perfect way to put it. But, instead of just looking outward at niche boards, the most strategic move you can make in 2026 might actually be looking inward.
Which brings us to Laura Johnson's piece on internal mobility. She discusses the career paradox.
I love that concept.
It's so true, though. It is this frustrating reality where the employees who are most qualified to stay and advance within a company are often the very ones who end up leaving.
Yeah, they feel their upward trajectory is blocked.
Or their skills are just invisible to leadership.
And internal mobility is no longer just an HR buzzword. It is a boardroom priority right now.
Because of turnover costs.
Turnover costs are bleeding companies dry, yes, but they are also simultaneously terrified of the rapid pace of AI disruption. Leadership is waking up to the fact that the talent they desperately need to navigate these massive transitions is likely already sitting on their payroll, just completely underutilized.
So how do you actually position yourself to be seen? Laura outlines a very specific blueprint.
She does.
If your company has an internal talent marketplace or directory, you have to treat it with the same rigor as your external LinkedIn profile. You update your skills inventory to reflect your future skills where you are building expertise right now, not just what you did 3 years ago.
That's a huge shift. And she also advises building an internal pipeline by setting up 20-minute conversations with leaders in high-growth areas of your company, like AI, analytics, or operations.
But you don't go in asking for a transfer, right?
No, you go in curious. You ask where their teams are stretched and what kind of skills they anticipate needing in 6 months.
I like that.
And concurrently, you must document your own impact. She references an earlier CG strategy from May 2025, I think, about creating a brag file.
A brag file?
Yes, a running ledger of every cross-team collaboration, new tool you master, and efficiency you create.
So what does this all mean for your day-to-day? Because I need some clarification on this idea of quietly aligning with the company's future direction.
Sure.
How do you start having these 20-minute chats with senior leaders in the AI division without your current manager feeling like you are plotting an escape or stepping on their toes?
It requires extreme diplomatic nuance, I won't lie.
Yeah, I'd imagine my boss would be a little suspicious.
Right. But future-proofing yourself internally doesn't require an immediate title change or a dramatic department transfer that leaves your current boss in a bind.
Okay, so what does it look like practically?
It is about volunteering to document the outcomes of a new pilot program or taking on a small, cross-functional task that doesn't detract from your main deliverables.
I see.
You frame these conversations to your manager as a way to bring broader company insights back to your own team. You become known as a highly collaborative problem solver who connects dots across departments rather than a flight risk.
That's brilliant. You are expanding your current footprint, not abandoning it.
Precisely.
And speaking of expanding footprints, this builds perfectly into our next topic. If internal mobility is about deploying your skills flexibly within one company, what happens when you apply that exact same flexibility across multiple organizations simultaneously?
You enter the world of fractional employment.
Yes. Denise Bitler wrote a fantastic breakdown on this. She defines what it actually is, and probably more importantly, what it is not.
And she is very direct about this. Fractional work is not a temporary bridge between full-time jobs while you search.
Right.
It is not entry-level consulting, and it is absolutely not a collection of random piecemeal side gigs on Upwork.
So what is it?
Fractional employment is the intentional application of senior-level expertise to a defined scope of work. It's delivered part-time, often for multiple companies at once.
And it relies heavily on deep, immediate credibility, doesn't it?
Entirely. A fractional leader has to step into a complex, messy situation and deliver outcomes without a 6-month onboarding period.
They don't have time to hold your hand.
Exactly. This naturally suits C-suite roles, fractional CFOs, CMOs, CHROs, but it is rapidly expanding into functional leadership in cybersecurity, data and analytics, and business transformation.
The lifestyle design aspect of this is what really catches people's attention, I think. Denise calls it balancing the money job versus the passion job.
Right, the portfolio career.
Yeah. You might dedicate 20 hours a week to a corporate firm to pay the mortgage and fund your retirement, and then spend 10 hours a week deploying your expertise for a startup or a nonprofit whose mission you deeply care about.
It's the dream for a lot of people. But the critical takeaway from Denise's analysis is the runway required.
Yeah, you can't just pivot overnight.
No, you don't just wake up at 55, get frustrated with corporate politics, and decide to declare yourself a fractional executive. If you want to leverage this working style in your 50s and 60s, when depth of judgment matters far more than sheer upward trajectory, you need to start preparing the groundwork in your 30s and 40s.
That's a long runway.
It is, and a key element of that preparation is governance fluency. While having a formal board seat isn't strictly required, knowing how to present to a board and translate complex operational issues into clear strategic decisions is basically non-negotiable.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because careers are just rarely linear anymore, Denise talks about the absolute necessity of collecting proof of your outcomes.
Yes, the proof is everything.
But how does someone actually do that when their current traditional full-time job seems to evaluate them heavily on mere presence and tenure? You know, the classic butts and seats culture.
It's tough.
And furthermore, if you say to start preparing in your 30s, what is the literal first step a 35-year-old listener takes this week to build governance fluency if they are nowhere near a corporate boardroom?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, overcoming that butts and seats mentality requires taking militant ownership of your own narrative.
Militant ownership. I like that.
Denise outlines 3 key actions. First, define your lane. Write down the exact high-stakes problems you solve and who you solve them for.
Okay.
Second, track measurable wins. You must develop before and after metrics that prove your impact, regardless of whether your boss or HR officially tracks them. You build your own scorecard.
Because nobody else is going to do it for you.
Exactly. And third, to address your point about the 35-year-old building governance fluency, you seek out credibility outside of your single employer.
Where do they start?
Your first step this week isn't to cold call a Fortune 500 board. It is to volunteer for the steering committee of a local industry association or join the board of a regional nonprofit.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
You have to learn how a board thinks. They do not care about daily operational weeds. They care about risk mitigation and resource allocation. You build that muscle in lower stakes environments first.
So you essentially have to start acting like an independent consultant within your own career long before you ever leave the building.
Precisely.
Which leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. Whether you are activating a power circle, positioning yourself for internal mobility, or building the foundation for a fractional career, your success hinges on one underlying mechanism.
Your personal brand.
Yeah.
And more specifically, the values you stand for.
Yeah. Jacqueline Perros explores this deeply in her article on advocacy.
It's a fantastic piece because in a market that is completely saturated with highly qualified, competent talent, your technical qualifications might get you a second look, but it is your values that actually create distinction.
She draws this brilliant, hard line between performative support and integrated advocacy.
It's a vital distinction for anyone trying to build trust. Performative support is reactive.
It's what we see constantly on social media, right?
Exactly. Adding a temporary hashtag or posting a graphic when a specific social issue is trending. It vanishes the moment it is no longer convenient or algorithmically rewarded.
Right.
Integrated advocacy, however, shows up in your actual quiet operational decisions. It is how you structure your hiring panels, who you choose to mentor when nobody is watching, and where you invest your departmental budget over the long haul.
It is the exact difference between a company painting its logo green for Earth Day versus a company that actually spends millions of dollars to rewrite its entire supply chain to be fundamentally sustainable.
That's a great analogy.
One is a cheap marketing tactic. The other alters the structural blueprint of the organization. And Jacqueline gives 4 specific steps to transition into integrated advocacy. First, choose alignment over popularity. Second, connect your advocacy directly to your career direction. Third, move from just having a loud voice to taking measurable action. And fourth, be relentlessly consistent.
Because consistency is what builds trust capital. When you advocate for things like equitable hiring practices or mental health awareness consistently over years, it signals to the market how you lead and the kind of influence you intend to have.
It proves you're real.
Yeah. It ensures that your career advancement is actually meaningful rather than just an empty climbing the ladder exercise. Jacqueline actually includes a quote from Brené Brown that crystallizes this perfectly.
Oh, I love Brené Brown. What's the quote?
She says, advocating for yourself is not arrogance, it's responsibility.
Advocating for yourself is not arrogance, it's responsibility. That really ties this entire month's newsletter together.
It really does.
We set out to unpack the theme of owning your value through advocacy, advancement, and visibility. And across every single framework we discussed, from Gene Stoner's Power Circle strategies to Elise Pipitone's niche job boards to Laura Johnson's internal mobility pipelines and Denise Bittler's fractional employment blueprints, the core mechanic is the same.
The mechanic is that you cannot wait for someone else to discover your worth.
Right.
The newsletter actually includes a powerful quote from Whitney Johnson that serves as the ultimate reality check for this market. She says, your career will not advance based on your potential. It advances based on what decision makers can see.
Potential is invisible.
Completely invisible.
Owning your value means transforming your potential into visible impact. You have to make it visible to your personal board of directors, to your internal managers, or to your future fractional clients.
This raises an important question, though. We've analyzed all these different modalities of work, visibility, and value creation. But how do you, as the listener, synthesize this into your daily life, starting tomorrow morning?
Well, I think the synthesis gives us a really provocative angle to ponder.
Let's hear it.
If preparing for fractional work requires us to build irrefutable evidence of our impact and to clarify the very specific high-stakes problems we solve across different organizations... no, let me rephrase that.
Sure.
If it requires us to clarify the specific problems we solve across different organizations, what if we applied that exact same mindset to our current full-time jobs?
Oh, wow.
What would happen if you walked into your office on Monday and started treating your current employer simply as your primary fractional client?
That is a massive paradigm shift.
How would that change your autonomy? How would it change the boundaries you set and the fundamental way you deliver and communicate your value?
It completely shifts your psychology. You move from being an employee waiting for direction to an expert actively delivering outcomes.
It rewrites the entire map. The old map with a single red line pointing up is gone. We are the architects of our own careers now, building leverage outcome by outcome, visibility by visibility. I want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take a look at your own map this week and take one intentional step to own your value. Until next time.